Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if God was like Naruto? Jashin's Divine Harem Adventure, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now start the fanfic. Here we find one Naruto Uzumaki dressed in his horrible jumpsuit with blue shinobi sandals and a blue Konoha headband tied around his forehead, standing in the middle of what appears to be the very bottom of a pit of some sort. When Naruto was pushed aside by the enemy that separated him from his annoying and soon to be possibly dead teammates, he fell into a hole that is just about the size of one big boned Akamaiki genin. Naruto was still conscious right after falling, as his ninja pouch, or possibly some sort of mysterious force, broke his fall. Naruto Uzumaki hasn't been living a very prosperous life for himself, as bad luck would always seem to take away any chance of happiness and success for him. For the young blonde Uzumaki, life hasn't been as sweet as he thought it would be. At the early age of 7, Naruto entered the Shinobi Academy with the help of the Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, believing that life as a ninja would save him from the horrible childhood he was forced to live due to something he was born with. However, things didn't go as he planned them to. He failed the academy 3 times because of some of the teachers making sure he never did pass by rigging the tests, lowering his grades and outright neglecting him at any chance they would get. He just managed to pass on the very same day he failed for the 3rd time because of stopping the now deceased rogue Chunin Mizuki, who tried to steal the forbidden jutsu scroll for who knows what reason. The 3rd Hokage along with Iruka Yumino decided to pass him as a reward for retrieving the scroll, and again, Naruto believed that it would be smooth sailing from there. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case again. It seems Lady Luck or whatever god there is out there just wasn't on his side, as Naruto was dealt with bad luck again. His genin team consisted of a stupid, idiotic, talentless and worthless fangirl who only passed due to being able to do one of the 3 required ninjutsu techniques and book smarts, and a revenge-driven arrogant avenger who just so happens to be the last legal Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto's teammates were anything but teammates. Sasuke was always the person demanding things from the poor Junin sensei they had, and always got what he wanted, courtesy of the idiotic civilian council and the Konohagakure elders. Sasakura Haruno was, for short, dead weight on the team. Naruto was always the one to save her from danger because Sakura would either 1. Be too shit scared of the situation she would get herself in, 2. Have no skill of any sort to help survive on her own, or the worst, which is 3. Wait patiently for her knight in shining armor, Sasuke-kun, to save her, which Sasuke wouldn't even bother to do or think of. It's not like Naruto wanted anything or a thank you from the stupid pink-haired screeching banshee, but every time he saves her life from who knows what she would get herself into, he gets nothing but insults from her and her constant trying of punching him upside the head for being a big baka and never ever help me when Sasuke-kun should. Naruto wasn't by all means affected by this, but it was getting annoying every single time they went on a mission, or out for training, which mind you was always one-sided. The Junin sensei was the only person Naruto enjoyed being around. Kakashi Hatake had long explained to Naruto that this team was already doomed the minute it was made. Kakashi was being blackmailed by the civilian council to train Sasuke Uchiha and leave Naruto alone as a means to flatten any chance of becoming stronger and better as a shinobi. Of course, Kakashi did manage to train Naruto on the weekends through the use of shadow clones, and even helped him to be able to use a small amount of the chakra of Naruto's tenant. All in all, Naruto's ninja career wasn't as joyful as he thought it would be. With the Chunin exams, Naruto believed that the 3rd time could possibly go his way, as once he becomes a Chunin, he would finally be rid of the duck-butt-haired avenger and delusional fangirl. But here he is once again at the hands of bad luck, trapped in some deep hole with God knows what, with no way out. Shakes head sideways negatively. Am I really not meant for anything good in life? I keep trying to have faith that everything will go good for me, but nothing ever seems to work. The Sandame was just trying to make me feel good about myself, wasn't he? Sigh, you know what? I think this is the last time I ever think of believing in good luck. Maybe I'll just live with what bad luck has given me, and just live in this nice, empty, dark and mysterious hole I fell in. Oh great, now I'm talking to myself. Just as Naruto was about to sit down in a meditation position and meditate to calm himself, a golden light flashed behind him, and his senses picked up a gigantic chakra source just behind him. Naruto quickly took out a kunai, and held it to protect himself as he turned around, and almost dropped the kunai at what he saw. In front of him is a gigantic ancient temple visible from the gold Indian writings on its wall, and its doors are as large as the gates of Konoha, leading Naruto to believe that they are pearly doors. However, that wasn't the only thing that piqued the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's interests or shock, as right in front of the huge doors is a glass box, or a casket from Naruto's view, holding some sort of human being inside as this box was just floating in mid-air on its own. What the hell is going on here? What is this place? Was what Naruto said. He took another minute to take a look at the humongous temple and glass box that is right in front of him. Naruto took a few steps forward, then stopped when he reached the floating glass box. Inside the box lays a humanoid figure that appears to be a girl with long gray hair going past her buttocks reaching to her knees and has white wolf-like ears at the top of her head, and her height oddly appears to be the same as Naruto's in estimation. She is wearing no clothing at all, leaving her body completely exposed for Naruto to see as her arms are crossed together over her chest and her eyes are closed with a chest rising and falling every 2 seconds. Naruto blushed deeply at this, and couldn't help himself but be marveled at the sheer beauty of the gray-haired girl resting inside the glass box. Think of the girl in the cover of this fic. From the corner of his eyes, Naruto looked up to the huge doors of the temple, and saw a stone tablet resting on the very floor. He slowly walked around the glass box as to not disturb its levitation and the girl sleeping inside it, then reached the small stone table and picked up. This temple belongs to the former Otsutsuki princess who is now the queen of the Otsutsuki clan. The rabbit goddess Kagaya Otsutsuki. This temple is her tomb and final resting place, and only her best chosen descendant can enter this temple. Wow. Could that girl be Kagaya Otsutsuki? Said Naruto as he turned around to look at the girl sleeping inside the glass box. He placed the stone tablet down, then walked up to the floating box as he tried to look for a way to open it. He saw hinges on the other side of the box, then pulled the lid up slowly as to not cause a disturbance. Once that was done, Naruto once again stared at the sleeping form of the magnificent gray-haired girl before him, and without thinking, his right hand moved to her face and caressed her right cheek slowly with his thumb rubbing against the girl's dry lips. Her skin, it's so soft, but cold at the same time. She's so ow. Naruto screamed in pain, and looked down to see his thumb had been bitten, and something was sucking the blood out him fast. He looked to see it was the girl as her eyelids opened to reveal gorgeous pupil-less red orbs that stared at him in happiness and fear. Before Naruto could say anything, he felt himself lose consciousness, and fell on his back with his eyes closing. A few hours later. What just happened to me? God, I feel like crap. Grunts, said Naruto as he slowly opened his eyelids. His vision wasn't the same as it was before, as Naruto could now see strange blue lines floating everywhere with his sense of smell being tenfold and his hearing has now increased completely. He quickly sat up to see where he was, and his eyes fell on the gray-haired girl who was standing before him still as the day she was born with her hands on her hips giving Naruto a calm look as her eyes show mischief, smirking at Naruto as she said, think of the voice of Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. Glad to see you've finally recovered, Naruto saw, punch to the mouth. Naruto interrupted her, and quickly got up his feet and threw a right hook to her mouth causing the girl to fall to her side by the force of the punch. Naruto quickly looked around for a weapon, and saw his kunai on the floor then grabbed it quickly. He quickly sat on the girl's stomach and held the kunai at her neck and said with a glare, "Who are you and what have you done to me?" Before the girl would answer, She closed her eyes shut and moaned at the pain of losing a tooth, and pull it out using her right hand. She opened her eyelids showing those mischief pupilless red orbs and smirked at Naruto again with a mouth full of blood and replied. Anyo, I would tell you my name, but by the way you are holding that kunai I could loose my vocal cords at any second now, which I really don't mind, but it would be total drag nonetheless. Please, smiles, let me up and I'll tell you everything you wanna know and so on. I promise I won't hurt you, as I mean no harm to my master. Giggles. Confused at the expression on her face in her happy mood, Naruto was hesitant at first, but stood up slowly, allowing the girl to get back up on her small bare feet. Naruto could now see other things among the both of them, which are plastic bags filled with blood and glass containers filled with blood, while others had different sorts of ink inside. His attention went back to the girl who was now standing on her feet and said to Naruto, "Before I say anything, I first need to know what year it is." Naruto raised an eyebrow at this, but nonetheless replied, 2016. Why do you ask? My name is Jashin. Jashin Otsutsuki. First-born child of the queen of the Otsutsuki clan and the late Kami, the founder of the Otsutsuki clan and former matriarch of the Otsutsuki clan. I go by many monikers, but my current one is the goddess of blood and destruction. As to why I ask you what year it is, I need to know just how long have I been asleep, which is actually 1,000 years, I think. Not really sure, but I think so. Thinking pose with index finger tapping chin. Quote. 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 Naruto was frozen in shock with his eyes slowly widening into white dinner plates, then spoke again to the short little girl in front of him, identifying herself as Jashin. Jashin, as in Jashin, the god who grants his followers immortality in exchange for killing people. That Jashin. The girl smiled and replied, yep. Although, it seems that my secret of being a girl is now revealed, shrugs, oh well. Matt, wait a minute. You didn't want anyone to know you're a girl. Why, you know what? I don't wanna know. Look, Jashin-sama, I'm sorry for punching you like that. It's just, you don't have to tell me, Naruto-sama. I pretty much know everything about you. I got a glimpse of your entire past from the taste of your blood. And your blood tastes so, tongue makes a clicking noise, good. Closes eyes for a second and moans sensually. Anyway, as to what happened to you, I first need to tell you a little more about me, my clan's origins and my parents. Would you like to listen? Naruto hesitantly nodded, and followed Jashin up to the doors of the temple that slowly opened on their own. At first, there was no light, but candles were lit by Jashin's snap of her fingers, giving Naruto a clear view of a black tiled floor with white walls, and in front of him is a large portrait of a 5'4" featuring tall woman in possession of very delicate facial features, as she has extremely long sweeping white hair that touches the ground, and the most noticeable thing about her appearance were the two horn-like protrusions which stuck out from her head. She possesses eyes that were similar if not exactly the pale Byakugan eyes, and a third eye on the center of her forehead with its eyelids parting vertically. Her eyebrows are cut very short, and she has a dark shade of lipstick on her lips and a dark shade of nail polish on her long fingernails. For clothes she has the traditional high-collared Harem kimono, which was adorned with intricate lines and tomo running down the center and edges of the gown, and wore very flat shoes. Jashin turned around to look at Naruto and said to him, "The woman in the portrait is my mother. If you read the stone tablet outside, you should know that she is the current head of my clan after my dead pasted away. I would take us up to her room, but you aren't allowed up there yet." Naruto looked to his left and spotted a red leather chair. Jashin saw what he was looking at, and quickly grabbed the chair for him and motioned him to sit. Naruto sat down on the chair, but was confused at Jashin not getting herself a chair too. "Aren't you going to get yourself a chair too?" "Nah, I've been laying on my back for 1,000 years. If I try and sit on anything again, my legs could turn into dust. Now then, as I said before, in order for me to tell you why you see, hear, smell and feel different, you first need more answers as to who I really am, where I come from and why I was sleeping in that old glass container along with who my parents are. Firstly, if people have told you that things like gods and goddesses do exist, you should know that they really do. However, these deities all come from one family, or should I say one clan, which is the Otsutsuki clan, but aren't the same as some of us, vary as different species and beings, but that's a whole other explanation for another time. Naruto-sama. Our clan was born on a faraway galaxy from this one, and we left our home on a mission to create life and find more power to become the strongest race in the entire cosmos. Some of us went to different galaxies while some others went to alternate galaxies similar to this one, but my mother and a few others came to this specific galaxy. My father, at the time of his life living among us, had sent us all out to different places to either inhabit, conquer, or destroy, and I was the person he first sent to this planet before my mother and her fleet had arrived. My mission was to plant a tree of life that would help this planet be able to create separate species, land, and other assortments of life, but most importantly, this tree would be able to grow a fruit that bears what humanity calls today chakra. Matt, are you telling me that chakra came from aliens? That actually isn't as strange as it sounds. Smirk, humanity has always wondered where such a gift and a curse like chakra originated from. Of course, the people during that time knew about the holy tree's fruit, but mankind what even created when I was still planting and nurturing the holy tree from my own blood that corrupted the 7 seas of the world. Anyway, after 2,000 years of human life being inhabited and heaven and hell being created, my father finally decided to send my mother along with her personal fleet to this world, and his last dying wish was for my mother to rule both this world and the heavens, as I would take up the underworld and the 9 rings of hell. At that time, humanity was faced with a war that nearly tore the world apart, as bloodshed was the only thing that painted this world when my mother arrived, thanks to me of course. When the holy tree finally grew a single fruit since its creation, my mother ate the fruit whole, and became the first being to have chakra. With that power, she was able to stop the many wars that overran the world and placed order onto the world. An order where everyone would acknowledge her as God and bow to her whether they wanted to or not. Jashin kept quiet for a moment as she licked the dryness off her lips, then continued. Some time later, my mother became pregnant with 2 boys. One was named Hamura Otsutsuki while the other was named Hagoromo Otsutsuki. During that time she raised the 2 boys. My mother kept me hidden from them as she wanted them to believe they were special and the only last existing Otsutsuki males in existence. Demo, why would she do that? Said Naruto as he gained a look of question. Jashin shrugged and replied, if I know. The woman practically took me into her pocket dimension and I never came out again during the time those 2 were around. By the way, aren't you in the middle of a test right now? Jashin-sama, I would rather be here than up there right now. I don't really care if I fail this test, as I already know I would, considering what is or what has happened to my teammates will be pinned on me. So please, continue your explanation. I have all the time in the world right now. Jashin caught a glimpse of sadness and disappointment written all over Naruto's face for a split second, and frowned as images of the blonde Uzumaki's past came flashing to her. Alright, said Jashin with a sigh, so anyway, these 2 boys were raised to live up to what my mother wanted them to be. I don't know about Hamura, considering she never got the chance to tell him his destiny, but with Hagoromo, she prophesied that he will be a great sage that will become the world's greatest warrior and protect humanity from anyone who tries to disturb its peace. Unfortunately, my mother, she began to get really sick. Not in the sense of an illness, but in the sense of her mind state, as the holy tree's conscience was slowly becoming more and more corrupted each passing moment as both Hamura and Hagoromo got stronger. In my theory, I believe that the holy tree did not want anyone besides me and my mother to have its chakra, and became angered when it saw Hamura and Hagoromo grow stronger and stronger with its power. It was only a matter of time before my mother and the holy tree combined would form that monstrosity known as the 10 Tails. Before that happened, my mother, with the last inch of sense she had, pull me out of her pocket dimension and told me that I am the only true child she wanted to keep her true power and belongings. Then she placed me into that glass container as a way to keep me safe from Hamura and Hagoromo along with their descendants and other Otsutsuki clan members, and sent both of our personal avatars to claim our thrones in heaven and hell. She knew very well that I was a person who needed someone's guidance and care since my father passed away leaving me to her, so she decided to make a command on the glass container that whoever will open it, will become my husband and sole master woman or man. I smiles. Quote. Naruto said nothing as he tried his very best to process everything Jashin has told him. After a couple of minutes, the blonde Uzumaki looked up to Jashin and said to her. So, let me get this straight. Your mother is the reason why you were locked up in that box, and she wanted the person who found you to take care of you and love you as she and your father did. Am I right? Nods. Hi, Naruto-sama. With a sigh, Naruto looked into Jashin's red pupil-less eyes to see if anything she had told him was a lie added to the ability of reading a person's emotions, and saw she was being completely honest to the core about every single word she said. Sigh. First I am born with this stupid lousy nine-tailed fox that is partially the reason for my horrible childhood, then I somehow never get what I want or never get what I simply wish for in my life, added with my stupid genin team, the idiotic council, the elders and some old bastard trying his very best to turn me into an emotionless Jinchuriki, and NOOOOOOW I get the gods dropping this on me. Sigh. You Lady Luck, I really hate you if you exist. Okay, thanks for telling me that. Jashin saw. Please, only my servants and slaves are supposed to call me that. You aren't my servant or slave, but my lover, caretaker and humble but energetic master that doesn't take me a while to know and love. I am the person who worships you for being able to find me and awaken me. To be honest, you aren't the only person who tried to open my container, as over the last couple of centuries a lot of historians have found this place. Fortunately, they never lived to tell everyone what they found down here. Foo. Naruto's sweat dropped at Jashin's statement and dark chuckle, and thought to himself, she is everything people have made her out to be. A deranged psychopath who enjoys killing people and spilling the blood of innocent people for no apparent reason, which is up, but in my case, she's kinda alright with me. Hold on a minute. Jashin, said Naruto getting a, from Jashin and continued, you never exactly told me what you did to me. Hits herself in the forehead. I completely forgot. Simple. All I did to you was activate your Uzumaki bloodline limit and work on your genetic makeup through a small blood transfusion, and I gave you a ton of new abilities to master and use. This temple has a training facility of its own, but you can't use it until I finally dig up this entire temple out of the ground. It's gonna take me and my cousin a bit of time to get it out, but I'm pretty sure I'll be in contact with her in no time. For now though, you have the basics of all your bloodlines and abilities down naturally, so you will be able to survive up there with them. Nani? Did you just say, Uzumaki bloodline? Said Naruto with a look of confusion planted on his face, making Jashin raise an eyebrow but sigh tiredly as she said, if your memory tells me anything, it's that nobody ever told you about your true lineage and your parents. Sigh. Okay. All will be explained to you when you get out of this place and finish this part of the Chunin exams, Naruto-sama. By some kind of dumb luck, I can sense the life forces of both the Haruno and the Uchiha just half a mile from here, and you really need to get there before they really do die this time. Anyo, Jashin, how exactly do you expect? I widens. I think I know how. And why do I know how? Jashin folded her arms over her bare chest and responded to an ecstatic Naruto, like I said, once you're done with this stage of the exams, I'll tell you everything about your parents, your heritage and what exactly you are now capable of. Now if you don't mind, I need to clean up this place and make it suitable for you, Uzumaki-sama smirks. Without even mentioning a word, Naruto left in a red swirl that swallowed him up from the center of his stomach, leaving Jashin alone with the temple. The gray-haired loli smiled to herself, then looked up to the portrait of her mother as she said to herself or it. Hiding in some bushes are the three young genin of Team 10, also known as the famous Inoshika Cho trio of Konohagakure. One of the three is from the Akamaiki clan, chewing and munching on some bag of chips nervously, the other being a young platinum blonde-haired female Yamanaka, shaking with worry but looking on at what was unfolding before in disappointment as she is seething in anger, and the other was a lazy Nara who secretly and seriously wanted to be in any other place but here. But he knew very well that he would be getting the steel frying pan to the face if he didn't take part in this exam. Grunt, Ino, we need to leave right now before they sense our chakra signatures and do God knows what to us. You know very well that even if we tried to help Sakura and Sasuke out, we would also be in a lot of danger, and you heard what they said. They're here to fight Sasuke and only Sasuke. They don't care about Sakura, said Shikamaru, with Choji now closing the bag of chips, saving them for another time obviously, supported Shikamaru's suggestion. Yeah, Ino. We don't even know that much ninjutsu or any other field of offense right now to help save Sakura and Sasuke, not mention Naruto is nowhere to be seen, meaning that he could have been, you know. Against these guys, we're practically whoopee cushions waiting to be sat on. You saw that Rock Lee kid fight them. They used some sort of sound jutsu on him, and that Rock Lee kid is a Chunin level genin according to what Asuma sensei said. Will you cowards stop weaseling out of this? I know the both of you don't like Sasuke and Sakura that much, and grits teeth, so do I. Even though he is a total and Sakura is, well, you don't need me to tell you what her large overgrown head is filled with, but they are still our fellow ninja, and you know the law we Konoha ninja go by, said Ino, getting a tired grunt from Shikamaru and a side glare from Choji. The event that unfolded before them is one Sakura Haruno trying her best to defend an unconscious Sasuke who was resting under a tree against three sound genin who have just recently defeated and knocked out one Rock Lee of Team Guy. One of the sound genin looked like a mummified boy with only his right eye visible, with the other male having a very similar hairstyle to Konoha's copy ninja Kakashi Hatake, and the female of the group has very long raven hair wearing the same Anbu pants as her teammates with Senbon tucked between her fingers. The mummified genin did a small stretch while saying, well, that was something. Hopefully no one interferes again. Next time, I won't be so merciful. Zaku snorted at what the mummified genin said, and took out a kunai from his pouch and threw it over to the tree that Sasuke was resting under, only to get knocked away by a sloppy shuriken Sakura threw that, mistakenly, killed a squirrel hidden in the bushes nearby. Alright, enough with the funny business, you pink-haired bimbo. You know what we're here for, and it's that Uchiha dork sleeping like a baby under that tree, and is he sucking his thumb right now? Never mind. If you don't let us through and do what we came here to do, me and Dosu will probably consider putting a paper bag of that fat head of yours, and have a little 15 minutes of fame with those two holes between your legs. Era. Zaku, said Kin, are you sure it's a girl? That pretty much looks like a boy to me. More of an Okama if you ask me. Zaku, Kin, we've wasted enough time trying to tell this genin to move away peacefully. I will take her out myself. Before Dosu could finish what he had to say, a red swirl began to appear right in front of Sakura. Then in mere seconds, a human figure started to morph into existence. After a full 20 seconds of the sudden red swirl's appearance, the swirl was gone, revealing the blonde Uzumaki hero himself, Naruto Uzumaki, with a completely different wardrobe that oddly seems a little gothic due to the colors of the clothing. His jumpsuit pants changed color from its orange and blue to a straight black, along with his shinobi sandals being black, and his jumpsuit jacket was gone, along with his Konoha white t-shirt replaced by a white t-shirt adored with a black upside-down star, and lastly is his Konoha headband still tied around his forehead, but he also has a small platinum braid chain around his neck, and there appears to be two tattoos on the top part of his hands, as his left hand has the kanji for Ying, and the other has the kanji for Yang. His facial appearance is still the same, but his eyes however still hold its shine, but they now have a gloss black color instead of the ocean blue, with 3 white rings inside the iris surrounding the pupil. A wardrobe change. I didn't ask for this. Shrugs, ah well. That's how it works in fanfiction, I guess, said Naruto as he gave a quick look over himself, and lifted up his shirt to see his torso was now fully ripped with a six-pack and the seal around his belly button was still in place. Team 10, who were still hiding in the bushes, all gaped and eye widened at Naruto's new look, with Ino sporting a blush seeing Naruto's ripped abs and vessels appearing on all sides of his arms. Guys. What happened to Naruto? Said Choji as his eyes were still a little eye widened at the sight of his fellow ramen-loving comrade appearing out of nowhere dressed in some new clothing he has never seen him wear before. Shikamaru shook his head and said to his big-boned friend, Choji, as much as I hate doing this and I really do, my guess is that Sakura and Sasuke must have left him behind somewhere for a very unreasonable idea or they probably ditched him since they really don't like him much. You know how much those two don't want him around. Besides, I heard Kakashi-sensei has been secretly training Naruto more properly than he trained Sasuke. Shakes head negatively, that's not it. Can't you guys feel his chakra output and his Junin level chakra? It's suffocating but soothing at the same time. And those tattoos on his hands, they have so much chakra inside them, but it's like the chakra inside of them are oddly a broken down version of it. Plus, those abs, said Ino, getting a sweat drop from Choji who took out his bag of chips and continued eating, while Shikamaru thought of saying something smart, but settled for sighing and spoke to his two teammates as he said. This is such a drag. Back with the Sound Team and Team 7, the three Sound Genin eye widened at Naruto's sudden appearance, but they soon became overwhelmed with anger at his ignorance of the situation he is currently in. Naruto Baka, where the hell have you been? Was what Sakura screeched, making Naruto look up to see the three Sound Genin glaring daggers at him releasing all the killing intent they have, then looked behind him to see Sakura standing there, flaying her arms around like a headless chicken while screaming loudly at the top of her lungs with a small blood vessel appearing at the very center of her oversized forehead. Grunts, Horino, I would say it's nice to meet you, but I'd be lying to myself if I did. Now, do us all a favor and shut the for once in your life before more enemy genin come by over here for your fat foreheaded and make the situation more worse than it already is. Quote. Sakura was frozen at Naruto's statement, but chose to disobey the favor she was asked and was about to open her mouth and speak when she got an elbow to the head by Naruto's right arm, sending her flying way back into the tree that Sasuke was resting under. The three Sound Genin gasped at this blonde literally elbowing his own teammate, but Zaku snapped out his shock and grinned as he said to Naruto, and who the hell are you? Are you this green little monster's teammate or something? Kicks Lee's face. Zaku, just hold on a minute, said Dosu as he took a step forward and said to Naruto, you're the Uzumaki Orochimaru-sama told us to be wary of. You need to be dealt with before you cause any more problems for our mission. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Dosu, then his expression gained a fox-like grin right before he suddenly vanished into thin air, causing all three genins to freeze up at what happened to the blonde before them but started to look around frantically for where Naruto could be. Hey Dosu, how about we just kill the Uchiha now? The kid must have bailed as soon as he realized he can't take us all on. No, Zaku. Orochimaru taught me this seal that I should use on the Uzumaki if he is to use that against us. We need to take care of him. Before Dosu could finish, he sensed Naruto's presence very close to kin, and looked to see him bent on one knee right behind her with the index fingers of his hands being coated in white wind chakra. He poked the raven-haired Sound girl right in the anus, and she immediately screamed in pain as she flew straight up into the sky and came down flat. Before she could fall to the ground, Naruto raised his right hand to Dosu's direction, and the girl flew right at him in blinding speeds, knocking the air right out of the mummified genin who was pushed back by kin being thrown at him by some sort of invisible force. The very trees behind Dosu were also blown away along with a small medium-sized crater appearing right where the trees were. Zaku, Along with Team 10, all eye widened with their jaws opening wide in shock of what Naruto just did, and became even more shocked when they sensed the high amount of chakra Naruto used in whatever technique he used on Kin and Dosu along with the destruction the jutsu caused. I guess I need to do chakra control exercises again. But whatever, I can't complain at using that jutsu. Now then, let's see if I can. Naruto looked at the Kenji on his left hand and in a quick second it glowed white as a long katana blade with a green handle and diamond-shaped guard appeared right before him, then grabbed it with his right hand. He glanced at the blade, then looked over to a frightened Zaku and said to him, "Oi, you with Kakashi-sensei's hair. You know a lot of wind jutsu, right? Right? Hey, I'm talking to you, you little cunt." Zaku jumped at Naruto's sudden yelling, and flinched at the killing intent-infused glare he got from the blonde and replied hesitantly, "Why yeah. What's it to you? I know a few techniques in the Book of Wind style and Fire style combination jutsu, and I wanna use this S-ranked jutsu I can use with this sword right now. You wanna be my guinea pig to see just how awesome it is?" Grins. What? Said Zaku as he slowly backed away in fear of the killing intent being forced upon him, but he didn't have the chance to run as Naruto gave him a look indifference and said, "Too late." The sword was suddenly coated in red and black swirling flames, and Naruto pointed the sword right at Zaku as he said, "Uzumaki style. Dance of the Fire Whirlpool." The flames flew straight at Zaku in the form of a swirl with the black and red flames chasing each other and consumed the now screaming genin as the swirling flames flew straight into the air with him. In a matter of seconds, the flames were gone, and Zaku came back crashing down onto the ground making a small crater where he landed. His clothes and skin were burnt with his hair now being gone leaving him bald. By now, Team 10 could be seen with their eyes looking as if they would pop out from their sockets at any given second or their irises and pupils would soon become non-existent. Deadpan, I didn't even use that much chakra on that jutsu. Meh. Shrugs, my chakra control isn't as good as it used to be anymore. Sigh, thank yo, Jashin. Grunts, said Naruto as he discarded the sword like it was nothing, then just as he was about to walk up to Sakura, he looked up to see Sasuke now walking out of the tree he was under with flame-like marks covering most of his body and purple-colored chakra seems to be coating his entire form. The last Uchiha raised his hands up to his face chuckling darkly to himself as he said, "Now this is the power I have so long awaited for. With this power, I can accomplish anything, and nothing can touch me." He quickly scanned the area to see a lot of trees have been cleaved right off the ground with a massive crater that has 2 unconscious sound genin in it. Then he saw the burnt and dead body of another sound genin laying on the ground with smoke coming from his wounds. He turned again to see the unconscious form of his female teammate laying on the ground with her forehead bleeding, then his Sharingan blazing eyes landed on the one person he secretly despised the most in the village, then smirked as he said, "Dobi, I see you have survived that attack Orochimaru did to you, and I can see you finally discarded those kill me now clothes of yours that have disgraced my presence as an Uchiha. A change of clothes and some tattoos won't help you now as you are, and will always be weak. You will always kiss the ground I walk upon, and now that I am far stronger than I ever was, I have finally reached my potential. No matter who trains you or what you do to become stronger than you are now, you will never be able to match my level of power, as this, smirks, is the full might of the Uchiha clan. A clan that exceeds all clans in existence. But you wouldn't know that, as you're nothing but a clan-less lost cause that doesn't even know its parents. Your mere existence is the most pathetic kind to ever walk this earth." By now, Sasuke expected Naruto to implode with anger and rage and come rushing to him hoping to shut him up and fail badly, but he slightly eye-widened to see Naruto talking to Ino Yamanaka and Shikamaru in a casual fashion as if he didn't hear anything Sasuke said, or he rather ignored him altogether. The blonde finally turned to Sasuke with a deadpan and spoke in monotone voice. "Oi, you done with the monologue? We need to get moving quickly. Your banshee bitch over there needs medical attention from the injury eye." You bastard. You dare ignore an Uchiha? I will. Maybe I should just do Kakashi-sensei a favor and seal up that stupid hickey before you go, mad with power, and do something I'm gonna regret from letting you do later. Naruto raised his right hand to Sasuke, and by some sort of invisible force, Sasuke was pulled forward towards Naruto, then stopped as his neck was captured by Naruto's hand and gasped for breath as the chokehold Naruto had on him was taking every last inch of breath he had. Gold chains erupted from Naruto's back and held Sasuke by his wrists and ankles, holding him in place as he released his grip on Sasuke's neck, then made a high number of hand signs in blinding speed. Sasuke couldn't see, nor could Choji, Ino and Shikamaru see them either. Stopping at the horse hand sign, Naruto placed his left hand on the curse seal Sasuke had on the left side of his neck, then whispered. Sealing technique. Serial prison level 2 inches. At this, Sasuke clenches his eyes shut as his body shook violently from the pain as the flame-like marks retracted back into the curse seal fast, and the brooding duck-butt-haired Uchiha made a girl-like scream from the sheer pain he felt from the sealing technique used on him by Naruto, along with the great lose of the venomous power he had for the short few seconds he felt retract back into the curse seal. After a full minute of screaming and shaking a lot, Sasuke was now unconscious and fell on his back hard as soon as the gold chains retracted back into Naruto's back. Ino, along with Shikamaru and Choji, who were watching the whole event of Sasuke losing all the foul and sinister power he had simply vanish from Naruto's doing, looked at their blonde comrade in shock and slight worry as she said to him, Naruto. I might not have really known you that well, but what you have just done isn't exactly normal for a genin like you or any of us. Even if you get training from one of Konohagakure's best junin, you don't do that sort of stuff, and you just did fuinjutsu, which is something a Konoha genin could never even do no matter how high your reserves are. Just what happened to you when Sakura and Sasuke left you behind for dead? Naruto gained his trademark grin, and replied to Ino, well, as much as I want to and would love to explain it to you, I don't know how I can. Let's just say, I found some long-lost treasure that was buried somewhere here in the Forest of Death. Treasure that just might change my luck for a while before things begin to spiral out of control like they always do. Now, like I said, you three better not mention a single word about what you just saw here. And take this. Naruto took out a scroll from his pocket and handed it to Ino as he continued, this should sweeten the deal. You guys need an earth scroll, right? Yuyoriya, said Shikamaru, we do. But when do you plan to tell everyone about this? When you get to the tower, you do know that Sakura will tell, or actually scream to everyone that you hit her, and you're gonna be drilled with questions about the fuinjutsu seal you just placed on Sasuke. Don't worry about when I tell them, Shika-san. Everyone will see how I've changed when I decide I want them to know. Now scram. Tenten-san's team will be here any moment now, and you don't want to be asked troublesome questions, do you? Said Naruto, getting a negative shook of the head from Shikamaru as Team 10 left immediately, with Naruto sending a wink at Ino, who almost tripped in her tree hopping before regaining her balance. As soon as they left, the Kenji on Naruto's right hand glowed and the two Kenjis on both of his hands vanished from sight, with his eyes changing into his previous blue. Without making a hand sign or shouting the phrase, two shadow clones popped into existence and picked up the unconscious forms of Naruto's teammates, and were about to leave but stopped when a tired Tenten and slightly frustrated Neji appeared from the top of a tree just in front of Naruto. Hey, grins, I was wondering when you two would show up, said Naruto as he smiled and greeted Tenten and Neji with the wave of the hand, to which Tenten waved back but stopped to look at Naruto's change of clothes for a second. The two genins hopped off the tree and Tenten said to Naruto once she landed, what exactly happened here? And what happened to Sasuke and Sakura? Are those the kids that attacked Kabuto-san back at the academy? Hi, Naruto answered, we haven't been faring very well since we got here. We were first attacked by this genin who turned out to be some S-rank nuke nin, and I got separated from these two when he attacked us. Sasuke received some sort of hickey from the creepy nuke nin. After that, I really don't know what happened to them. I just arrived to find them unconscious with those 3 genins dead or unconscious I think. I'm guessing Sasuke killed that one with a strong fire-style jutsu since that's one of his affinities. Neji, who didn't buy anything Naruto said, narrowed his pale Byakugan eyes and said to Naruto while walking up to him. You appear to have some sort of genjutsu cloaking your entire figure, Uzumaki-san. But I do not care as that is your concern and not mine. We are here for Lee and that is all. Although next time we cross paths, we will engage in battle for your scroll whether your teammates are conscious to battle or not. Tenten sighed at Neji's behavior, and picked up the sleeping form of Lee onto her shoulders. For what's worth, I hope you survive this round, Naruto-san. If you are looking for a heaven scroll, we saw. Tenten. We are not helping anyone in this part of the exams, even if they are Konoha ninja. Said Nenji with Tenten eye rolling at her teammate's glare, but followed suit as Neji hopped off north leaving Naruto and his clones behind. Well, that better than I expected. You too. We need to get to the nearest cave and take a quick rest for bit. I need to do a memory erasing jutsu on them to make sure they don't go yelling to the council that I hurt them or I have some sort of new power in jutsu that I don't deserve and needs to be handed over to Sasuke. The last thing I need is for those two to make my time here more unbearable than it already is, said Naruto, getting a nod from the 2 clones. With that said, Naruto hopped out of the area in search of a place to rest and hide with the 2 clones following behind. A day later. Afternoon. That should do it. Minus one problem, for now at least, said Naruto. The team of 3 were currently sitting inside an open cave with Sakura and Sasuke still unconscious with seal arrays that were written on their foreheads flashing white before they vanished leaving no trace of ink on their skin. Both Sasuke and Sakura slowly opened their eyes to see Naruto sitting near a fire eating fried fish, and Sakura quickly got up as she pointed at Naruto and once again screeched. Naruto Baka, where the hell have you been? Where the hell are we? You weren't supposed to survive that attack by the snake ninja, Dobi. I saw you get blown away like the pathetic waste of space you are, said Sasuke with a smug look on his face, but he did not getting any reaction from Naruto who replied as he finished his fish. Swallows food, you're right. I was blown away, but I didn't die from a simple C-ranked wind jutsu. I safely landed on my back and then I had to wake up and fight my way out of a big hungry snake before it would digest me whole. After that, I tried finding you too, but I somehow couldn't sense Sasuke's chakra signature as it changed for a short while, and obviously Sakura's chakra signature is non-existent. I did however find both a heaven and earth scroll on my way to finding you 2 sleeping out in the open like pieces of meat waiting to be devoured by the predators of this forest. That's a lie Naruto Baka. Sasuke-kun must have slipped those scrolls into your pocket before he had to fight that creepy snake man. He must have got us both into this cave to save me from the danger of this forest and protect me from the other genin that wanted to take me away from him. Hearts in eyes, said Sakura, getting a large sweat drop from Naruto who thought to himself, I'm beginning to think fangirls are an entire different species to humans if she actually believes all that crap. Sasuke stood up from where he was resting and spoke to his teammates. Since we have both scrolls, we need to head to the tower immediately without attracting any attention to the other genin out there. I don't want to spend another second in this disgusting forest any longer than I already need to. Sakura, being the person she is, formed hearts in eyes again as she squealed in delight of hearing Sasuke speak, but the mood vanished as soon as Naruto responded to Sasuke's statement. By the way, that hickey on your neck needs to get checked out by the Sandame whether you like it or not. When we get there, I don't wanna be anywhere near the both of you until we are ordered to. Now let's move already. I don't want to save your constipated again. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke luckily arrived without any trouble on the way, and they were now standing in front of what appears to be 2 large hands forming a ninja sign. I think we should open the scrolls now since the rule was to never open the scrolls until we arrive at the tower, said Naruto as he took out the scrolls but was stopped by Sakura who said to him, and you said we should listen to you, Naruto Baka. Sasuke-kun is the smartest in our team, so he should decide what we should do. Naruto was about to speak, but stopped himself, then tossed the scrolls to Sasuke, who caught them, then unrolled both of the scrolls at the same time. The scrolls flashed white, and Sasuke quickly threw the scrolls to the ground. Poof! Iruka Yumino, dressed in the standard Chunin attire with his hair tied into a pineapple fashion, appeared from a cloud of smoke and looked to see Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke standing before him, causing him to smile as he said to the team of 3, "Congratulations, Team 7. You have passed the second stage of the Chunin exams, and you somehow don't appear to be having any injuries or casualties at all. I'm very proud of you 3. Anyo, Iruka-sensei, we were attacked by some genin who turns out to be the S-rank missing." "Shut up, Dobi. As I was saying, the S-ranked missing ninja of Konoha, also known to be one of the 3 Sannin, Orochimaru. I don't really know what happened since I got separated from the team when he attacked us with a wind-style jutsu, but Sasuke appears to have the same mark Enko Mitarashi has," said Naruto, getting a heated glare from both Sasuke and Sakura, which he easily ignored, and Iruka eye widened at what Naruto told him but soon changed his expression of shock to seriousness as he replied. "This is a serious matter that needs to be reported to the Hokage as soon as possible. Sasuke, you will come with me as that seal on your neck needs to be checked if it is what it is. Naruto, Sakura, the 2 of you can head on upstairs and pick out whatever rooms you want. You have the rest of the 4 days to rest and relax before the Hokage calls everyone to the arena for an announcement." Before Sasuke could refuse, Iruka placed his right hand on Sasuke's shoulder, then the both of them left in a puff of smoke. Sakura turned to Naruto only to see he already left without even saying word, and screamed in anger of her blonde teammate ruining her chances of sharing a bed with her precious Sasuke-kun so that she could help him recover from getting such a nasty hickey from that evil little snake man, as it was all Naruto's fault that Sasuke has it. Back with Jashin. "Okay. I cleaned up some of the parts of the temple, updated the library, refurnished the supplies, made all sort of clothes for my master, and I finally washed all my clothes. Now, what should I do?" Here we find the goddess of blood and destruction standing in a gold-plated tiled kitchen, dressed in a white dress with a black neck collar around her neck, the dress and collar in the cover, still not wearing any shoes whatsoever, and tapped her chin with the index finger of her right hand as she began to think of something to do. Her red pupilless orbs widened in delight as an idea came to her mind and said out loud to herself, "I know what to do. I should call my cousin. I need to make arrangements of when I can get the temple out of this shithole, and now is the best time since I know she really isn't doing anything with herself. Deadpan, actually that bitch never does anything. All she ever does is wonder about in that damn infinite dimension Ka-chan made for her and complains that Big Red has taken away the silence she so rightfully deserves and needs, sweat drop. I have got to get that bitch a hobby before she turns into a mindless robot or something." With that said, Jashin bit her thumb and began to write all sorts of different symbols in a circle with an 8-pointed star in the center of the room. Once she was done, she took a step back just as soon as the drawings flashed white with a blinding light appearing as the kitchen began to shake slightly. The light disappeared, showing a cute little girl having the same height as Jashin, and this girl has long black hair reaching down her hips and gorgeous gray eyes that complements her gothic Lolita clothing. The girl first had a look of confusion on her face, but it soon changed when she spotted a crazy grinning Jashin standing before her, causing her expression to change to one of boredom as she spoke with a monotone voice. "Jashin, my FAAAAAA, Vorite cousin. It's so nice to see you after the past 4,000 years I saw you. Ho have you be?" The girl was interrupted by Jashin, who ran up to her and hugged her warmly as Jashin wrapped arms around the gothic loli's neck and said, "Ah fee, I missed you so much. You have no idea what happened to me. Come, I must tell you everything from the start, and tell you some good news." Without even bothering to fight or struggle, the little girl known as Ophis allowed herself to be dragged into another room while still having a look of boredom across her face which Jashin saw but either didn't mind it or ignored it as she was too ecstatic from being reunited with her cousin Ophis. Some time later. And that's all of it. Crazy stuff, right? But hey, at least I finally have a master I can happily serve, and I know Ka-sama and Tu-chan couldn't be happier too. Jashin and Ophis were now sitting inside a room that has the same gold tiles of the kitchen but white walls with a white ceiling that has the symbol of the Uzumaki clan in red paint. The room only has a chandelier that is lit with white candles and a small royal carpet that both Ophis and Jashin were seating on as the both of them were drinking black tea in small black teacups. Ophis took a sip of her tea then placed the cup on its saucer as she spoke to her gray-haired cousin. It really is quite the story that is impossible to believe, but at the same time, it's not that hard to understand why your mother chose to keep you hidden from your half-brothers. Unfortunately though, the sage already knows about Yuya-chan. Jashin's slightly eye widened at this as she responded to Ophis' statement, really? How did he know? You didn't tell him, did you? No, said Ophis, while you were sleeping. A lot of things have happened in heaven and hell and other dimensions linked to all the worlds of humanity. For starters, your mother's chosen second, Genryusai Shikeguni Yamamoto, came into power and claimed the title as the Christian god who will rule the heavens of this world along with the others too. Your chosen second, Tia Harabel, also did the same as she became the queen deity of the underworld and ruler of the 9 rings of hell, but however, a lot of things began to unfold. Factions were created, a war started and was seized when she got sealed into a prison dimension made by the current Christian god Yamamoto, and now hell has become more of a place overpopulated with what is called clans in this world. Your many worshippers went into hiding after Harabel got sealed away. Your son Alucard has disappeared, and Yamamoto has been trying to find all your worshippers and have them executed with the use of your father's holy chains ever since. When he came into contact with your brother Hagoromo, he told him everything about you and asked for his aid in the hopes that once you are to wake up from your slumber and be found, Hagoromo will be the one to help him in sealing you into that dimension where she is. Quote. Okay. Clearly I have been missing out on a lot of shit. Sigh, and after all this time I tried to warn Ka-sama about Yamabaka, she still wouldn't listen to me. Now, a literal hot-headed little boy with a long gray beard who thinks he's the wisest man in all existence and always knows best is running my precious mother's afterlife and claims my father's honorable title which doesn't belong to him. Not only that but he did other up shit that wasn't even supposed to happen, and I have my stupid Otudo to worry about since Yamamoto has already told him who I am, what I do and what kind of a threat I am to humanity. I really did miss out. Say, Afi-chan, do you currently know where my Otudo could be? Ophis shook her head and replied, his location is non-existent as he has been time-traveling through people who bear chakra from time to time. He has been searching for you for the past 1,000 years and I hear he still hasn't found you, but I still don't know why he wants to find you. Your master, what did you say his name was? Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Why do you ask? Said Jashin noticing a slight change of expression on Ophis' face that quickly vanished before it changed back to a stoic expression. Your master is a very important person in this world, and because of the fact that he discovered you it means a high number of things are about to change, in your favor of course. By the way, why did you summon me? Eye widens and slaps forehead, old age is really starting to mess with me here anyway. I sort of need your help to get this temple out of its current location. Ka-sama buried me and the temple 60 feet into the ground to make sure no one like Hagoromo, Hamura, or the other Otsutsuki members would find me and her belongings. My master, who is now the rightful owner of this temple, has no apparent place to live in that could suit him perfectly, so I am planning on getting this temple out of here and in a clear space that he can gladly get to instead of always having to teleport himself into this stupid deep hole. Of course a favor comes with another favor, Sue. Go ahead and name your price, cousin. Ophis kept silent for a minute as she gained a thoughtful expression, causing Jashin to raise an eyebrow in wonder of what Ophis was thinking of as she thought to herself. The last time she called me for a favor, it was to massacre the dragon hunters that invaded her dimension. I really don't know how Red got in there in the first place, but I doubt whatever she's going to ask is about getting Red out of the dimension. Your master is a person I have been watching ever since he was born. I have grown quite attached to him as he is the only thing, putting aside you, that could make me feel emotions again. The favor I ask of you is that you allow me to be a part of his life as one of his wives or slaves if he chooses so, and I shall promise to leave the dimension to Red and stay by Uzumaki-kun's side just as you will do so, Ya-chan. I understand that your mother will now be watching over him and protecting him from beyond her prison until that time comes. Well, I will go to the Devil faction and Fallen Angel faction to tell them that you have awakened and you have a permanent master who you shall lovingly serve, and of course make sure that they never let a single angel or soul know about this, as that would cause worse problems for him in this world. The leader of the fallen angels will send 2 of his soldiers to help guard and protect Uzumaki-kun for a short time, and I know the Grimoire family will try their best to contact their heiress to find you as soon as possible. Quote. 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 Well, you have definitely caught me by surprise with this one. This definitely is the most surprising thing I have ever heard in my time. Jashin tried to read Ophis' eyes and body language to see if she was only joking about the favor she is asking her, and found nothing, leading the gray-haired lowly goddess to believe that Ophis is being completely honest on the favor. Jashin kept quiet for a short while, then spoke again with a smirk planted on her face with her eyes glistening from the fire of the candles. I shall do you the favor you so humbly ask for, Afi-chan. But remember that there are no take-backs once I do you this favor, Narrow's eyes. I am fully aware of that, as I hold no second thoughts over the favor. Now, what are you planning to do about Yamamoto and your half-brother Hagoromo? The angels I know you can manage easily, but those 2 are extremely problematic, even for the likes of you, Ya-chan. If word gets out about Uzumaki-kun being your master and caretaker, there is no telling what they will do to him in order to get to you. Tia is sealed in a dimension I can't seem to find, meaning she is mostly likely in the same place she is in, but I will restart my search for her as soon as I can if you allow me to, said Ophis. Jashin's smirk only widened more as she said to Ophis, I already have something planned for those 2. You just let me deal with them on my own for now, Kuz. Go ahead and get Tia-chan out of whatever prison she's in. A kingdom without a ruler is a rodeo, and a rodeo implies a house of madness. I can tolerate destruction, but chaos is one thing I don't need in my afterlife. It has been 4 days since Team 7 arrived to the tower, and not a lot of things have happened since then. Sasuke was released a day later from the INT department after they evaluated his seal problem, and it was confirmed that he has the curse mark of heaven given to him by Orochimaru, who is yet to be found and arrested, then executed of course. The Sandaime already called for Jiraiya the Toad Sage, and he had arrived to see if there was anything he could do to temporarily stop the curse seal from affecting Sasuke for the time period. Upon inspection of the seal, the Toad Sage discovered that there already was another seal keeping the venomous chakra and the presence of Orochimaru at bay, and this caused confusion amongst the Sandaime and Jiraiya, who both tried to figure out how it got there or who placed it on the Uchiha in the first place, as nobody from the INT department says he or she is responsible for it during Sasuke's evaluation at that place. Naruto was asked by the Sandaime if he saw anyone place a seal on Sasuke during the time they were in the Forest of Death, and replied that he found him like this after he got separated from the team during the attack. Jiraiya concluded that whoever made the seal must have been a seal master, seeing as this particular seal is made by the Uzumaki clan when compared to other seals he has seen before. At first they both thought that Orochimaru must have placed it on him in order for anyone not to tamper with the seal, but knew that he wouldn't do that, as the whole point of the seal is to infect the one who bears the seal and corrupt him/her into being more and more dependent on it. The investigation was held off until the end of the Chunin exams, but for now though, Naruto was told to explain his side of the story of what happened to him during the second part of the exams, seeing as he didn't finish his report on what he encountered during the time Orochimaru attacked his teammates. Back to the present, here we find one Naruto Uzumaki sitting on the edge of the bed of the room he checked himself into, and was calmly meditating as the silence within the room kept him in tune. He could feel himself being pulled somewhere within himself, but at the same time, he felt as if something was trying to call out to him in a different place other than his mindscape that housed the Kyuubi. He tried to listen to the voice, but he couldn't as he was disturbed by the door of his room opening, showing one Anko Mitarashi grinning from ear to ear, dressed in her usual attire of the INT department torture specialists. The grin left her face for a moment when she saw Naruto's eyes being a gloss black with 3 white rings inside the iris, but they changed back to its beautiful ocean blue at the blink of his eyes, causing her to be confused for a moment but shrug it off as something she must have imagined. Naruto looked up to the door and saw Anko, and groaned as he said to the Tokubetsu Junin, "Ooh boy. What did I do to get your attention this time, Anko-san? I said I was sorry for what I said at the gate and for trying to steal the scroll. Calm down, Gaki. I'm just here to come and get you since the Haruno Tranny and the Uchiha have already arrived at the arena without you. Now get your shit together and come with me quickly, the prelims are about start soon," said Anko, getting a sigh of relief from Naruto, who got up from the edge of the bed and left the room as he closed the door behind him and followed Anko to wherever she was taking him. "Hey Gaki, mind telling me what's up with the change of clothes? Last I saw you, you were wearing that ugly jumpsuit that old man gave you when you were a kid. Did you steal them from a genin in the forest? I guess you can say I finally realized that even though those clothes were a gift to me, they would have been the death of me if I didn't stop wearing them soon. I got these clothes from Kumo Nin in the forest that died in the last Chunin exams that happened last year." "Pretty sweet, huh?" said Naruto, getting a hesitant nod from Anko, seeing that Naruto wasn't really telling the truth but left it for later to ask him the truth. Then she looked left and right first and looked over to Naruto with a serious expression as she said to him, "I heard what happened to the Uchiha. Is it true that Orochimaru is here?" "Hi, Demo. I don't really know why he would do that to the Uchiha. You have an idea why? Sai, promise not to tell what I'm about to show you," said Anko. Naruto to raise his right eyebrow in question, but nodded in agreement, waiting for Anko to show him something. The two stopped midway to their destination, and Anko titled her head to the side and pushed off the trench coat she was wearing off her shoulders to reveal the same mark Sasuke bears, causing Naruto to eye widen as Anko said to him, "As you know, I got this when I was a kid. I was one of the kids that left with Orochimaru when he was caught experimenting on kids with the cells of the first Hokage and for the other horrible stuff he did. I've had this annoying piece of garbage ever since. Anko-san," was what Naruto said as he gained a look of worry at seeing the mark and noticed Anko's frown. "Why are you telling me this?" Anko stood up straight and fixed a trench coat, then gave Naruto a grin as she said, "Because I already know you're the one who placed that other seal on the Uchiha, you big dummy. Call it a hunch, but I know that seal from my own first sensei when I was still a genin." Naruto eye widened at this and was silent for the whole trip to their destination, thinking to himself about how Anko could come to such a conclusion of him being the suspected seal master. Once they reached their intended destination, Naruto found himself in some sort of arena where everyone is save for the Junin instructors of each genin team and the Hokage, and he quickly caught sight of Sakura and Sasuke standing together as Sakura tried to make an effort to cling to Sasuke's right arm only for him to step away from the pink-haired banshee and side-glanced to her to get away from him. Once he got to them, he looked up to see the Sandaime now standing before them on a higher platform, to which everyone kept quiet and listened to what he had to say. "Congratulations to all of you that have passed the second part of the Chunin exams. I understand that your time in the Forest of Death must have been a very difficult time, as I can see that some of you have only arrived this very day. Over the years of the Chunin exams happening here, Konoha's second stage of the Chunin exams has received its fair share of criticism due to the fact that not many genin could survive even 2 days inside this very forest itself. The entire point of that part of the Chunin exams is to give Chunin hopefuls the required experience to know how to survive when sent on either team-based assassination missions or solo retrieval missions that would require stealth and self-sustainability for long periods of time when entering enemy territory. I do however understand that most of you standing before me must have went through your very first kill inside the forest, and that experience will sure take some time to pass. Demo. It is highly necessary to go through such a hard task as this will pave your path to understand the many sacrifices and choices that come with being a Chunin in no matter what village you come from. Moving right along, due to the high number of people that passed the second part of the Chunin exams, a preliminary round shall now be held in order to slim down the number of people who shall progress into the final part of the Chunin exams. But we just got here, said Kiba, getting a glare from Anko, who said to the young Inuzuka, "Well, tough luck, Gaki. I told you the rules of the second stage of the Chunin exams when you and your team arrived at the gates and entered this forest. If you wanna wooze out, then go ahead, no one is stopping ya. But your team will follow you out of here." Kiba growled at Anko's statement, but avoided her gaze while glaring to the floor, with Akamaru whimpering as he too was tired from all the running, fighting and scavenging for scrolls and food for the past 7 days being in the forest of death. Shino, who was standing besides him along with a timid and tired Hinata who looked worse for wear, said to his teammate, "I have already told you the very moment we entered that we shouldn't go about wandering and exploring unknown territory, as that would cause us to lose track of time, and possibly each other. It was my parasitic insects that found both you and Hinata-san yesterday, and had it not been for Rock Lee-san seeing you and Akamaru nearly being devoured by the predators you attracted, you know very well you wouldn't be standing here with us." "Whatever, Shino. It's not like we didn't fail the test, or did we?" was what Kiba said, and didn't get a reply from Shino but a shook of the head from Hinata. Back with the Sandaime Hokage, the self-proclaimed professor cleared his throat to get the attention of the crowd before him and continued. "If anyone here would like to leave the arena and not take part in the preliminary exams, please raise your hand. You must know, however, that if you leave now, your team will also follow you back, causing you to automatically fail the whole team in the process." The Sandaime looked to see if anyone would raise their hand, and saw one Kabuto Yakushi an, correct me if I'm wrong on his surname, raise his hand and said that he was too tired to fight and would like to retake the exams next year, with his team nodding in agreement with him. The Sandaime nodded, allowing Kabuto to leave, but did not see the glance he passed to the male Junin sensei of the Odo team, who looked back to Kabuto and smirked. Just as the Sandaime was about to continue speaking, a sickly-looking Junin stepped up to him and said, "Let me take it from here, Hokage-sama." The Sandaime kept quiet for a moment to think about the sickly Junin's request, but nodded as he sat back down on his chair, and the Junin stepped forward as he said to the crowd before him, "My name is Hayate Gecko, and I will be the proctor of the preliminary round that will decide the participants of the final part of the Chunin exams. How this works is the big screen on your right will choose 2 names at random of who will fight to secure their spot in the finals. The match will either be won by defeating your opponent in knocking him or her out, or killing them, or forfeiting if the needs be. However, if I deem the match to end, then it will end no matter what happens. Now if your name does not appear on the screen, please make your way to the viewing platforms where your respective Junin instructors are. The big screen on the right-hand side of the arena flash, Sasuke Uchiha vs. Yoroi Akato, and everyone whose names did not appear on the screen moved up to the viewing platforms, leaving one Sasuke Uchiha and Yoroi Akato, who said to Sasuke, "Let's just get this match over with. I don't wanna waste my time fighting dead weight like you. Your blonde teammate looks more threatening than you if you ask me." Sasuke's eyebrow twitched at Yorio's statement, but smirked as he said to him, "You dare compare me to clan less trash like the Dobi and say he is better than me? HN. I will make you eat those words fast, and I'll have you regret to ever look down an Uchiha elite such as myself. I told you I would make you eat those words, said Sasuke as he was now standing over a bruised and knocked out Yoroi. Hayate checked to see if Yoroi was still conscious, then stood up as he said, "Winner, Sasuke Uchiha." The Uchiha smirked to himself expecting an applause by everyone in the crowd up above him, but only got a very small applause by very few people with one loud screeching squeal by a certain pink-haired banshee screaming cheers for him that annoyed mostly everyone close to her. He looked over to Naruto to see he didn't even pay attention to his match and was having a casual conversion with Kakashi Hatake, causing the duck-butt-haired Uchiha to fume and go up the stairs to stand with his team. The screen once again flashed and showed Shino Aburame vs. Kidomaru. Shino, getting a few words of good luck from Hinata and his Junin instructor Kurenai Yuhi, then walked down to the arena and waited for his opponent to show up. A kid with 6 arms dressed in very familiar clothing wearing a Otogakur headband hopped off the viewing platform, and got different gazes from the crowd such as shock, suspicion, wonder and total disgust from his extra appendages. Ibiki, that kid has an aura around him that I really hate right now, said Enko, her eyes narrowed at the 6-armed kid facing Shino. Ibiki, who was standing besides her, placed his arms on the steel bar of the platform keeping people from falling, and replied to Anko in a low tone. That kid, I didn't see back the academy. Did you see him at the gates of the forest? Yeah, I did, but I didn't exactly see what kind of headband he had on. What are you thinking, Ibiki? Ibiki kept silent for a moment then responded to Anko's question, nothing. Demo, the Uzumaki kid, he has some sort of genjutsu cloaking him, and I can sense him suppressing his chakra a lot. Did Kakashi really train him that much? I don't know, said Enko, but he probably applied the genjutsu over himself for reasons Kakashi and the Hokage should know of. Back at the arena, Hayate looked at both of the genin, then shouted, Hajime. Before he jumped back from them. And Aburame, huh, you aren't the first one I fought before. And by the looks of your small reserves and how many insects you have on you, you won't even be able to last longer than a minute with me, smirks, said Kidomaru, but got no response from Shino, who raised his arms as the parasitic insects came out from the baggy sleeves of his coat. Kidomaru saw what he was doing, and smirked again as he ran up to the Aburame and engaged in a taijutsu battle that was rather one-sided. Shino kept on taking hits from the 6-armed Oto Nin, but also got to hit back a couple of times even though it didn't do much damage to the 6-armed Oto Genin. With one kick to the right hip, Kidomaru stumbled back as he held his hip in pain and locked down to his feet to see Shino's parasitic insects now crawling their way up to him. Really? This is too easy. Here I am thinking that maybe you would be more of a challenge by knowing more about what your insects could do, but clearly your clan doesn't trust you enough with that knowledge. Begins to chew something inside his mouth and spits out quickly. Kidomaru spits out what appears to be a large web which then flies over to Shino and trap him to the wall. Kidomaru stood there for a moment as the pores on his skin slowly began to excrete some sort of golden sticky liquid, and in under a matter of seconds, his entire form was now covered by the liquid acting as armor with the now dead parasitic insects dying fast and fall of his skin. He hopped into the sky and spat out small spears that went flying towards Shino, who nearly got stabbed by them had it not been for all his insects eating through the webs, saving him from being a pin cushion. Once he got out of the web-like trap, he desperately took out some kunai and threw them at Kidomaru, who landed far from him, only for the weapons to bounce right off the armor. In the stands, Kurenai Yuhi began to fear for her student's life as she began to slowly see that if such an attack like the web Kidomaru created could once again trap Shino, it was less likely to believe he would be able to escape a second time. Shino doesn't look like he'll have a chance against this guy, said Shikamaru, who got looks of confusion from Kurenai and Ino, who asked to her fellow Nara teammate, why do you say that? Shino's bugs ate through the webs, which means they must have chakra inside them. And if anything, I think that sticky disgusting stuff on that kid's skin is also made of chakra too. Asuma, who was standing behind his students, said to Ino answering her question, that armor he made protects him from any sort of weapon and it could possibly make him invincible against taijutsu fighters. The Aburame kid has low Chunin reserves while that kid's has mid-Junin reserves, which is more fine-tuned and in control by the way he seems to be controlling the chakra coursing inside the armor on his skin. This means that his armor will be too thick for the Aburame's ants to eat through considering how much chakra he puts into the armor. But he does have a shot at winning this because of the Oto kid's constant talking during the fighting, meaning he is underestimating the Aburame kid a lot. Shino-kun, said a worrying Hinata who looked on at her teammate fighting the sound genin. Kidomaru cackled darkly as he ran to Shino in Chunin speeds and once again engaged in a taijutsu fight that was once again one-sided as Shino desperately dodged all of his attacks and got to a safe distance from Kidomaru only to land into another web trap once again that enclosed his entire figure from the neck down. The six-armed Kidomaru slowly walked up to his prey while making a sword from chewing the liquid inside his mouth and said to the trapped Shino, "You're not even worth the effort. I'll go ahead and I forfeit, Proctor-san, as my parasitic insects cannot eat through this web fast enough," said Shino, causing Hayate to hop down to the arena and shout, "Winner by forfeit, Kidomaru." Kidomaru grunted in annoyance of Shino's forfeiting, but one glance from his Junin instructor made him release Shino from the web trap and the liquid on his skin was gone just as he took the stairs up and stood beside Dosu and Kin. Shino followed, and once he got to Hinata and Kiba, his Junin sensei gave him a reassuring hand and said to him, "You can always take the next Chunin exams in Kurigakure no Sato. You've made a good decision by forfeiting, Shino. I am perfectly fine, Kurenai sensei, as there is no need to worry about my state of mind on losing these exams," said Shino, though, I do question his statement of fighting one of my fellow clansmen before me. Also, I did not see him at the Shinobi Academy when we took the first part of the Chunin exams. Kiba snorted and said to Shino, "Does it matter if you didn't see him?" The next 6 matches were rather many things to describe. With the fight between Kin and Shikamaru, it seemed as if Kin was rather not 100% due to the anal blowing technique she suffered at the hands of Naruto. Shikamaru won the match by knocking Kin out, which was to be expected of the Nara to see through her genjutsu. The fight between Neji and Hinata seemed like more of a personal nature as Naruto could see from the start that Neji fought with the main intent to kill the timid heiress of the Hyuga clan, but he won the match by disqualification when Metagai and Asuma held him back from delivering a killing blow to the shy and timid Hinata who looked like she would need serious medical attention or else she would die from punctured organs and internal bleeding. The fight between Ino and Sakura was, well, one-sided to say the least. Ino, although she had low genin reserves, totally dominated the match with her mind transfer jutsu. Sakura was just throwing her kunai and shuriken everywhere, then exhausted herself when she attempted to create a simple clone that looked more sickly than Hayate himself. Seriously, the clone looked like you could just blow it away once you crack open a window or something. With Tenten and Temari's match, he guessed that Tenten wouldn't be able to win seeing as she is more of a weapon specialist and a long-range fighter, and Temari is a wind jutsu specialist making any sort of weapon Tenten could use in the fight useless. There were close calls when Tenten would have won the match, but the Suna Kunoichi had used her giant fan multiple times to get herself out of a bad situation she would find herself in, thus she became the winner of the match by knocking Tenten out cold. The match between the makeup-wearing Kankuro no Suna against Masumi Tsurugi definitely was a learning experience for Naruto to see the use of puppets in battle firsthand. The match was a little one-sided, but Masumi did hold his own for a while before he was defeated by Kankuro and his wooden puppet. As for Choji and Dosu, the match was sort of a little funny at the very end, but Choji did manage to put up a fight even though he lost in the end. Now we find the big screen of the arena flashing, Naruto Uzumaki vs. Kiba Inuzuka, and a loud, Yahoo! And Burke could be heard on the other side of the arena. Before Naruto could walk down the stairs, He felt a hand on his right shoulder and turned to see Kakashi giving him an eye smile while saying, "Do you best, Naruto. Become the unpredictable ninja you always are with this match. Ooh, trust me, Kakashi-sensei. I intend to," said Naruto, getting Kakashi to raise his right eyebrow at Naruto's fox-like grin that told him something about Naruto's statement being literal instead of just figurative talking. Naruto got down to the arena, and as soon as both genin arrived, Hayate shouted, "Hajime!" and hopped away from the two Konoha genin. Kiba and his Ninken companion Akamaru got into a fight stance, and smirked when he saw Naruto just standing there with his hands in his pockets. "What's wrong, Dobi? Afraid me and Akamaru are gonna kick your Jokovan into the curve?" Naruto remained silent with a stoic expression planted on his face, then started to chuckle, which soon turned into full-blown laughter that confused the crowd but mostly ticked off Kiba, who growled at Naruto's laughing. Naruto stopped laughing with a few breaths and replied to a fuming Kiba, "Actually no. I actually think you're not even worthy for what's about to happen." "And just what are you talking about, you blonde idiot?" said Kiba with Akamaru growling. Naruto, who took his hands out of his pockets, then folded his arms and finished. This. In just a split second, Naruto was enveloped by white chakra, forming a circle around him, then shooting up into the ceiling of the large room, casing large cracks as dust began to pick from the wind made by the chakra swirling around Naruto. Anko, Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, Guy and the Hokage all eye widen at the sudden spike of Naruto's reserves going from mid-chunin to a very high cage level, and sensed a large amount of chakra flowing separately through his hands and another large amount flowing into his eyes. The Oto Junin instructor sat up from his seat the minute he sensed the genjutsu enclosing Naruto, and further eye widened when his chakra spiked to an all-new high. He focused more onto Naruto's face and could sense a biju amount of chakra passing into his eyes, then gasped in surprise when he saw Naruto's eyelids open to reveal they have now changed from their normal ocean blue to a new gloss black with 3 white rings inside the iris surrounding the pupils. "Amazing. Why didn't I know of this before?" was what the Junin instructor said as his eyes flashed to a gold with black slits for a split second. "Kakashi, what are teaching this kid? And how in the hell does he have a dujutsu? That high-level amount of chakra coursing through his eyes is just too much to be just an increase in eyesight, as even his eyes have changed color and gained some strange Sharingan-like circles," said Asuma, only to get no reaction from a shocked Kakashi, who responded, "I actually didn't teach him to do that with his hands, expand his reserves like that, or get him those eyes. I swear, I think Kakashi is telling the truth, Asuma," said Guy. "His student has seemed to be releasing such beautiful flames of youth, of which would take years for Kakashi to teach him increasing and maintaining, and the color of his chakra is not the usual blue of a human being. Those eyes are also a new development." With Anko, the purple-haired torture specialist was looking on at Naruto as she said to herself, Was he hiding this from me all this time? I knew he was more stronger than he lets on the moment I saw him back at his room with the genjutsu cloaking him, but just how strong he is what I didn't know. Why would he choose to hide this from me of all people? Anko looked to her left to see Ino now standing besides her, saying, "That other seal on Sasuke. He put it there. And those sound ninja over there were the first to experience just how strong Naruto-kun is. He created a sword with his left hand, then did some fire and wind combination jutsu on one of them. He said the jutsu is S rank." "No shit," said Anko. The Sandaime Hokage was having his own thoughts about Naruto's sudden change, but was interrupted by Ibiki, who said, "Hokage-sama, is it natural for a Jinchuriki to have those reserves and this unknown type of chakra?" The Sandaime gave a negative shook of the head and replied to Ibiki, "Mito-sama had reserves higher than my own before she became the Shidaime Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Kushina-chan trained for 3 to 7 years on how to use the Kyuubi's chakra that came with her coils, further expanding to hold a low cage reserve of chakra. But this is not normal by any standards. Kakashi gave me a report on Naruto-kun's current progress in his private training, and what I am seeing now does not match up to it even in the least bit. Especially that chakra. It isn't the venomous Biju chakra that is red, nor is it the normal blue of a human being. I have never seen anything like it before. Back to the arena, the white chakra vanished, leaving Naruto, who now has the Kenji marks for Ynen, Young, on his hands and his eyes permanently changing to its new color and shape. Kiba, who was shaken by Naruto's transmission, cracked a fake smirk as he said, "Ha! As if that little genjutsu you just put up would scar me. The eyes and the tattoos are a nice little addition to your genjutsu, Naruto. Nice try, but me and Akamaru can smell through smoke and mirrors. What has happened is not a genjutsu, Kiba-san. It was all real," was what one Rock Lee shouted, causing Kiba's smirk to fall a little, with Akamaru giving a small whimper. "Oi, Kiba. Do us a favor and make your move before I move you out of consciousness. Make sure you come at me with the intent to kill, as I want nothing less to prove just how wrong you are about me being a dobi now," said Naruto, getting a growl from an infuriated Kiba, who did a hand sign and said, "Man-beast clone." Akamaru, through a puff of smoke, transformed into a carbon copy of Kiba, and the two hopped off into the air, then flew straight towards Naruto, swaying and swaying in mid-air until they became spinning drills going for the target, which is Naruto. Once Kiba was close enough, Naruto sidestepped the attack and stopped Kiba's spinning by grabbing the young Inuzuka by the collar of his jacket and the tip of his pants, then threw him over to the wall, with Kiba going through it head first, with only his lower body hanging lifeless as his upper body was stuck inside the wall of the arena. The crowd was stunned to silence at Naruto literally making short work of Kiba, but Kakashi sighed as he thought to himself, note to self, stop trying to expect something from Naruto or try to predict him. It's a complete bad idea and a stain to my eyelids from constant eye widening. One genin with a hairstyle shaped like the foul end of a duck was fuming badly as he was having his own thoughts. The Dobi, where did he get that kind of power? I have been hearing about him being trained by Hatake, but I don't believe this stupid Junin could teach him to do that. Those eyes, he never had those eyes before. I will demand answers from him, then get the pathetic civilian council to use their political power on Naruto to get him to give me that power in his eyes. It's mine and only I deserve such power. Besides him was Sakura, thinking the same thing along the lines, but added with images of Sasuke doing some other things the author would not want to get into typing down for the readers to see. Or do you want him to type it down? Good. Back with Naruto, he looked down to a now scared Akamaru, who transformed back into his original form, and Naruto squatted down to the Ninken and said, "You wanna try something, Akamaru?" The Ninken whimpered and shook it slowly, to which Naruto smiled and brushed the dog's head and said, "Good boy. Don't worry about Kiba. Your partner will be fine." Naruto turned to Hayate and said to him, "Hey Proctor-san, call the match already. You can see for yourself that Kiba won't be getting up anytime soon. And don't worry about him, he's not dead, he's just stuck and out cold. I didn't throw him that hard." By now, Kurenai was completely speechless at the event that happened before her very crimson eyes. At first, she also believed that Naruto was actually going to lose the match, considering his academy records along with his small chakra control that Kakashi was still training him in, and the only good jutsu he knew that could help him defend himself was just a wind style, beast tearing palm, and few B rank fire jutsu that Kiba could easily avoid and counter. However, she now realizes just how wrong it was for her to underestimate someone who has been given the title Konoha's most unpredictable ninja. I fell to being arrogant and forward about him. I should have told Kiba to take him seriously instead of toying with his emotions, was what Kurenai said, but was reassured by Shino, who said to her, "In a professional analysis, Kurenai-sensei, even if you did tell Kiba-san to be more focused and put his clan's pride aside, he still wouldn't listen, seeing as he still believes, or believed, that Naruto-san will always be inferior to him." Kiba was pulled out the wall and taken away by medics, with Akamaru accompanying him to the hospital, and Naruto walked up the stairs and rejoined his Junin sensei, who gave Naruto a tired look and said, "Sigh. Should I even bother to ask what happened to you and why did you hide all of this from me? Kakashi-sensei, you know very well that I'm not a secretive person. All of this happened to me when I was in the forest, and I promise to explain it all to you when I go to the Sandaime about this." Before Kakashi could speak again, he was interrupted by Anko, who came up to him and Naruto and grabbed the blonde Uzumaki by the shirt and spoke to him with a killer intent-infused glare. "What the was that, Gaki? Why did you hide all that from me? I though you, Anko-san, like I told Kakashi-sensei, I am not a person of secrets and you know me very well to see when I am hiding something and I would tell you eventually like I always do. This transmission happened to me when I was still in the forest and I promised to tell you and Kakashi-sensei everything as soon as I go to the Sandaime Hokage. I promise." "Hey Dobi," said Sasuke, interrupting Naruto, "I don't care whether you will tell the Hokage first or not. All that power you displayed down there is not yours and you don't deserve it. I know about Hitaki training you secretly to not make you embarrass me out on missions, but all of this isn't you and it never will be, so tell me now where you got all this power and those eyes. I demand it as I am your superior, you insolent little." "Sasuke-kun is right, Naruto Baka. Now talk before I tell my father and the civilian council," said Sakura. Anko was deeply offended at what Sasuke had to say about Naruto and was planning to put the Uchiha in his place along with his pink-haired tranny of a fangirl, but was stopped by Naruto, who said to her, "Don't. You'll make it worse." These two never stop nagging, and once they go to the civilian council, the nagging turns to threats that never stop, and it ends up giving me a headache like the time this idiot saw me use the Kyuubi's chakra when we were fighting Haku. "Can you let me down please? I need to go do something before I go to Hokage-sama's office. You and Kakashi-sensei can head on over there and please do me a solid and take my participant number when they give it out." Anko's glare subsided and her expression softened when she let go of Naruto, who walked past Sasuke's shoulder, hitting him in the process along with Sakura, who nearly fell from the force of it. Once Naruto left, Kakashi looked over to Anko with a questioning gaze, to which Anko sighed and said, "It's a long story, Kakashi. Me and the Gaki go way back and we're pretty close. Hokage-sama. He actually had me take care of the little guy when he was still a kid." No wonder he's like that. But he does seem to be your opposite in some ways. Like now, he stopped you from talking down these two. Once Naruto was out of sight, he left the tower through a red swirl that wrapped him to wherever he was going. 1 hour later, the temple. Naruto found himself back in the temple, and looked around to see he was in a room that has gold-plated tiles with white walls, then raised an eyebrow at seeing the very red swirl he normally sees on the back of a Chunin flak jacket on the white ceiling of the room. His eyes then landed on a king-sized bed in front of him, then saw the gray-haired and red pupilless-eyed Jashin dressed in a black and white dress with a steel black collar around her neck, wearing no shoes, exposing her very small cute feet, sleeping on the bed, causing Naruto to gain a small smile at seeing Jashin's sleeping form. She seems to look so beautiful when she's asleep. Just like when I saw her in the glass box I found her in. I guess the saying about beauty sleep is true, huh? Jashin. His eyes then landed on a black-haired girl dressed in nothing but a long black nightdress, adored with a fishcake pattern on it, and also wore no shoes, revealing her small feet for Naruto to see as well, that was also sleeping next to Jashin as she was hugging her pillow tightly while sporting a small blush on her cheeks as her mouth was open, showing she was drooling on the very pillow she was hugging. Okay. Should I wake the both of them up or just Jashin? Jashin. I'll find out later who that is and what's up with this swirl on my ceiling. Matt, did I just say my ceiling? Must be this new DNA acting up or something. Naruto slowly walked up to Jashin, then stared at her for a few seconds before he crouched down, then kissed her on the cheek, causing the red-eyed goddess of blood and destruction to slowly open her eyes and stare at her master with a warm smile. Before she could speak, Naruto beat her to it as he spoke in a whispering tone. We don't want to wake up your guest over there. Come with me. We need to go to the Sandaime Hokage now. I sort of owe him and some other people an explanation for what you did to me, and I need you tell them the whole truth about you. If I told them myself, they would think I am losing my marbles or something. You can tell me what you wanted to tell me when we come back, Jashin, Harem. Jashin blushed at Naruto adding the suffix to her name, but slowly sat up and nodded before she got up and held Naruto's hand as the two left the room in a wrapping red swirl, leaving Office to peacefully sleep on her own in silence. Standing just near the hole that leads to the temple is one Yugao Azuki dressed in her Anbu attire with her Neko mask on and her sword tucked on her back, sporting a look of confusion. This isn't right. My senses pick up Naruto-san being 40 to 60 feet underneath me. How is that possible? Did he fall in this hole or something? Before the purple-haired female Anbu could further question the predicament of the genin she was ordered to find, she sensed something besides her and looked to see a red swirl wrapping out two small humanoid figures. Once it was done, the swirl vanished, revealing one Naruto Uzumaki and a gray-haired girl Yugao has never seen before. Just as she was about to speak, Naruto stopped her as he walked up to her with Jashin still holding his right hand with her left and said to the female Anbu, "You're here to take me to the Sandaime Hokage?" With a hesitant nod, Yugao replied, "Yes. I am." "Then take us over there. Let's not waste any more time," said Naruto. Yugao placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder, then all three of them left the area in a leaf shunshin, but failed to notice a small green snake see them leave and slithered its way into the hole. Yugao, Naruto and Jashin all arrived in the Hokage's office to see the Sandaime, the elders with Danzo missing, Anko and Kakashi all waiting for them. They all saw Jashin, and were about to question Naruto who she is when Naruto stopped them as he and Jashin walked forward to the Sandaime's desk with Naruto saying, "Hokage-sama, you and everyone in this room probably have a lot of questions about my reserves increasing with my coils being enlarged, the color of my chakra, these tattoos on my hands and my eyes, along with the fact that I was the one who placed the Juinjutsu blocking seal on Sasuke. In order for you all to understand the answers to those questions, I have brought to you the very person who will explain to you all the truth about what has happened to me. I do ask that you temporarily ask all your Anbu to leave this room until all that has been needed to be said, is said." Koharu narrowed her eyes and said to Naruto, "And why should Sarutobi need to have his Anbu leave the room, Uzumaki?" Jashin, whose eyes began to slowly form blood vessels around her red pupillus iris on her white clear surla with thick red worms beginning to slowly surface on her arms like veins, was about to release a godly amount of life-taking pressure on the village elder for addressing her master in such a manner, but was stopped when Naruto squeezed her hand, causing the blood vessels in her eyes and the worms on her arms to vanish before anyone could notice. The Sandaime looked into Naruto's eyes for a minute, then motioned his Anbu to leave the room. Once they were gone, Jashin took a step forward, letting go of Naruto's hand, then the blood vessels began to reappear on the clear white surla of her eyes as her mouth twisted into her trademark smirk, then folded her arms over her chest. "My name is Jashin. Jashin Otsutsuki, first-born daughter of the founder and late ancestor of the Otsutsuki clan and the queen of the Otsutsuki clan, Kagaya Otsutsuki. I bear many titles throughout the cosmos, bu.